All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Full Set and Half Mast podcast, episode number 7. Tonight we're going to be covering topics ranging from the NASCAR Xfinity Cup and Truck at two different tracks. We have the Formula 1 race, and we also have the Indy cars at Texas. Tonight we have a new sponsor that we would like to cover. That is Dubby Clean Energy. Pull up the sponsor page here. This is a new energy drink that we've gained sponsorship from Neurofactor, an all natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you with laser focused and fast reflexes without the crash that you get from typical canned energy drinks. Um, Try amazing flavors such as Dragonade, Dub Sludge, Galaxy Grenade, and my personal favorite that I've got on the way, Beach and Peach. Buy the starter pack with 2 flavors and a shake cup for a very low price. Make sure you use the link in the description and use promo code DAGABOYS to receive 10% off your first order. I want to thank W for the sponsorship tonight. All right. So now we'll get right into this episode here. First off, we'll start with the news that we have of Austin Beers. He won the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour race at Richmond this weekend. It was his first career win in the tour. Also, Joey Logano announced that he'll be running the 66 truck for Thor Sport at Bristol Dirt this weekend, and Chase Briscoe will be running at the 22 truck for AM Racing at Bristol Dirt as well. So, jump straight into the Xfinity race. This race was a very, very good race. Yeah, Justin Allgaier on pole. And like we said with the Cup race prediction, we thought that the Toyotas would be the class of the field, and they seemed to be the class of the field early on in this race. Sammy Smith took the lead lap 3 and led all the way to the caution at lap 36. At this point, the whole field pitted except for Sammy Smith and John Hunter Nemechek. Ultimately, this was the worst strategy ever, as we saw how important tires were all weekend at Richmond. With the tire fall off, Sammy Smith, John Hunter Nemechek were just sitting ducks. They dropped like rocks all the way to the bottom of the field. They ended up finishing the end of stage 1 out lap down to the leader, which Chandler Smith was the leader and won stage 1. From here, Chandler Smith also kind of led the entire next stage. Him and Barry and Herbst and Jones were battling for the lead. Josh Berry ends up taking the lead late in stage 2 to win it. Barry also took the lead late with 65 to go over Jones, and it looked like Josh Berry had control of this race and he was going to win. Late race caution came out, which actually ended up hurting Justin Allgaier, who pitted with 40 to go to make his final pit stop. The leaders tried to shortcut the leaders with being so behind in track position. Caution comes out 29 to go for Jeremy Clements, who was parked on pit road with his incidents. And this put Nemechek in the lead on after the pit stops with the Toyota speed, and their pit crews was just outstanding. And we get a late race caution with 20 to go with Jones and Herbst, who ran top 5 all day, took them both out of contention. And with 12 to go, Moffitt spin. So we just had repetitive cautions here at the end of this race that just kept making John Hunter Nemechek have to keep grinding all day to maintain the lead on these restarts. And Sammy Smith, who will be nominated for Bonehead of the Week with his terrible pit strategy, why you're the most dominant car in the race, and you decide to get off strategy with the rest of the field and put yourself a lap down. He didn't get the lead lap actually until before the restart with 5 to go. So it was about 7 to go in the race. Just absolute boneheaded move, takes the best car and just throws the race away. At this point, we have a restart with 5 to go. Chandler Smith versus John Hunter Nemechek. I've been saying it. Tom's been saying it. He's bound to win one of these things. Finally gets it done. First career win. just puts on one well of a display on the outside of Nemechek, who I believe had a more dominant car than he did, and he just outdrove him for the win. Congratulations, Chandler Smith. An outstanding race for him, and takes the dub. For his first career win. What do you have anything you want to add to that? The Xfinity race.
Yeah. Chandler, my boy, winning that race. I don't know anything else to say. It was a great race. Unfortunately for Sammy, not being able to pull it off, and Chandler holds on to win the race. I think you hit the nail on the head with the rundown there. I don't have much else to say.
I mean, this is back-to-back weeks wins for colleague Chandler Smith, first career win, puts him in solidifies him as a championship favorite that we said last week, and I'm very excited. I was on the edge of my seat, screaming at the TV, and I have not done that in a long time. I was so excited for him to win. I called him to win in the preview show on Thursday. He got the job done, got the dub. Congratulations, Chandler Smith. Many more wins to come for him, so watch out, Xfinity Series. Later on Saturday, we had the Speedy Cash 250 for the Truck Series at Texas. This race was dominated by Nick Sanchez. Won everything there was to win in this race except for the actual race. So we'll get into how everything went. Sanchez starts on pole, dominates stages 1, stage 2. They didn't have any competitive pit stops because all the pit crews were in Richmond this weekend for the Xfinity Cup race. So we kind of set the race up for every stage to be a pit stop, and they also had a competition caution in the middle of stage 1 for a pit stop. Lap 21 in stage 1, Chad Chastain just wrecked twice in this race within the first 25 laps. Just, I don't understand what puts him in these positions, but maybe it's his name, I don't know, but he just doesn't seem to have any ability or shown any ability up to this point in his cup or in his truck career. And like I said, Sanchez just dominated stage 1, stage 2, led all but 3 laps in the first 2 stages. At this point, with about 30 to go is when the race kind of changed. We had a caution for Jack Wood going through the grass. In a race that had really no cautions. You just had those 2 by Chad Chastain in the first stage and no cautions from there on out. 30 to go. Race ramps up. Jack Wood into the grass. Get another restart. Sanchez is able to hold off the field again. Check out on the field as he did all day. Closest competition: Christian Eckes, Christian Eckes, Zane Smith, and Ben Rhodes. Closest competition all day. 23 to go. We had just an absolute ARCA break moment in the trucks. This guy Armani Williams, I think is his name. This guy is an absolute weapon. We have a clip to show you exactly what happened in this race, and this was just absolutely ridiculous. So we'll let the clip run now. Oh, no. There we go. So if you look at the top right of the screen here, he's off frame right now. So when we press play, you'll see him come. Let's run that back. It's kind of freezing a little bit.
Okay.
Look at this mess.
You see 2 trucks go right through the grass, kick up all the grass right there.
Yeah, it's not even showing here.
What a hit. Ankrum has a lot of damage too. We saw him at the outside wall.
Go back it up again. Yep.
Trucks go right through the grass, kick up all the grass right
So if you look on the very top right of the screen, that white truck just slams right into, I believe it was the 14 truck, and then into Dean Thompson, who had just a phenomenal race going on, and then made the mistake to get in the back, and then had this incident happen, over driving in the back of the pack. I guess my first thought on this was what's going on, and then just to see Armani Williams, this guy, just absolutely missile into the field with no brakes. As you could see on the top right of the screen there, he was probably coming out of the backstretch by the time this wreck started. Where's his spotter? What is happening? Yeah. This guy didn't even brake or anything, just slams into these guys, puts Dean Thompson in an ambulance. We were concerned for his health there for a minute. I mean, a missile, an absolute missile. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it brings me back to our first podcast we ever did when we were talking about the IndyCar race at St. Petersburg, where we had multiple cars fly up in the air, and where are these spotters at? Why aren't we getting this communication to the drivers? Because at this point, it's about the safety of the drivers. It's not about getting a clean vehicle. It's about making sure your driver can get out of that vehicle under his own power again. I don't know what happened miscommunication wise, but between the driver and the spotter with Mr. Williams. But I don't, man, that was a horrendous wreck. And we're not talking. We're lucky this wasn't in the next gen car, because this would have been 100 times worse.
I think NASCAR needs to revoke his driving ability in the truck series or put him on some type of probation. This is just bad, egregious. We're talking about suspending people for parking on the track, suspending people for saying things that put them at guilt with this Hamlin deal, or hood louvers. But you're going to allow a guy to come into the truck series and just not even use his head, his brakes, be able to look ahead. Where's his spotter? This needs a suspension. And now you can't have this. This is a terrible look. I mean, you're at the one of the top levels of NASCAR, and you're just gonna arc a brake into somebody that speed. He's lucky this wasn't worse, and Dean Thompson's doing okay as of now. But that was just ridiculous. And so
it was.
I guess from there we just had kind of caution after caution. We had the Taylor Gray and Daniel Dye incident brought out a caution with 11 to go. We had a caution with 6 to go with a big wreck between Crafton, Enfinger, and Tanner Gray. And then we had NASCAR Overtime 1. Lawless Allen goes around. And Sanchez continually had to fend his lead off lap after lap, restart after restart here at the end. The first 137 laps of this race were just a snoozer. I almost fell asleep on the couch. It was tough to watch. It was just kind of Sanchez just checked out. And then you had kind of the battle for second between, like I said, Rhodes, Eckes, and Zane Smith there. And it was just like, who's going to be able to get Sanchez? And nobody was able to until the end with all these restarts. So after that, we got NASCAR Overtime 2. This is the final restart of the race. We just have carnage taking the white flag. We have an awesome clip here we're going to show. Yeah, we'll let the footage roll. So here we are coming to get the white. Zane Smith's giving Sanchez a run for his money right here.
They touch. Nick Sanchez gets sideways. He wrecks. The 38 Zane Smith goes around.
Just incredible.
Yeah, and Carson
Just incredible.
Carson Hocevar.
All right. So this ultimately took out your 3 contenders for him. Sanchez just made a slight mistake and just got in the grass, got sideways. And Hocevar kind of was hard on himself in victory lane. So Hocevar won the race, is what I'm saying. And then in victory lane, he was kind of hard on himself. He was saying that he was going to take responsibility for wrecking the 2 truck there. And I mean, in my opinion, I might be wrong, but I think this was just a racing incident. I mean, he didn't expect for Sanchez to get that sideways and then check up that much. And he kind of you don't lift on the last lap, especially at Texas when you're basically wide open all the way around. He just kept his foot in the throttle and just happened to make a little bit of contact with Sanchez and ended up taking out the other 3 contenders. And as many times as we've seen Hocevar up here in the front not being able to get the job done, to actually see something come to his favor, he's a lot like Sheldon Creed. Just so many opportunities up front with chances to win, and finally gets it done. And you just feel excited for Hocevar, first career win, right? Just amazing. And I think he's a little too hard on himself. And then Sanchez, just heartbreak, led all but 4 laps the entire race and loses it. I think you'll expect to see him in victory lane a lot more often this year. He showed a lot of talent and a lot of speed this weekend. Anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I wouldn't really put blame on Hocevar for that wreck. Nick Sanchez came up into Zane trying to get a side draft there, and he just kind of overcooked it with his steering input. Came back across the track after getting a little bit loose, clipped the grass. I mean, he's trying to save the car at this time, so he's off the gas. Hocevar gets into him a little bit, and it just sends him across the track. In my opinion, that's going for the win. And sometimes it could be a little aggressive, like, you know, all of these Chastain haters like to pin stuff on him. But that's not me. I'd like to appreciate the fact that Hocevar wants to win this race, and he's going to do anything it takes to win this race. I don't think Hocevar did anything wrong here. He did what he had to do, and he won a race finally. And he is now a Craftsman Truck Series race winner. So I don't think he did anything wrong. It was like you said, a snooze fest up until the last 30 laps when everything started getting all crazy, and then it kind of got a little interesting there. But overall, pretty happy with it. With Carson Hocevar coming out with the checker flag.
Right. And Hocevar really wasn't even a contender all day. I mean, just the perseverance of this guy, just to do what it takes to be there at the end, and that's how you win races. That's how you prove to people that you know how to get the job done. He's a lot. It was just a race that a veteran would have done, and he's a young racer, and it was just a veteran-esque race. It was awesome to see.
Yeah. Hopefully, we can see more of that from him.
Yeah, hopefully. And with that being said, I just want to take note of our 6th place finisher here, Haley Deegan. Just a phenomenal job. Great run by her. She gets a P6, and when you're a back marker like she was in this race and just outside the top 20, all you can really do is stay out of the carnage, stay out of the trouble, and get the best finish you possibly can. And she did that. She optimized her day with having being running in the mid-20s all day, being a back marker. So congratulations to Haley Deegan on this 6th place run. Just a phenomenal job, and let's see if she can back it up next race at Bristol Dirt.
Yeah, part of the racing, particularly in the truck series, is surviving. If you can survive, you can get a pretty good finish. I feel like that's a pretty accurate statement when racing in the truck series. And being in the truck series, in her position, you could really build your career as a truck series driver by just finishing the race and not being the havoc, not being the person who everybody likes to refer to as, a wrecking ball. So, kudos to her. She did a great job. She had a great race. She had a great plan instilled in her head to finish the race. She executed, and she comes out with a P6.
Yeah. Congratulations to her on that one, and also congratulations to Carson Hocevar, first career win. This brings us to the race late on Sunday night. I stayed up till like 2 a.m. watching this race. It was awesome. The Formula One Grand Prix in Australia. Max Verstappen, as we know, the Red Bulls are dominant. He starts on pole, and his teammate Perez had to start in from the pit lane. So the race was, how well can Max Verstappen do, and how can Perez rebound from that low starting position to actually maximize the points today, or in the race. Turn 1, George Russell got a fantastic restart, drove in and actually took the lead through turn 1 and passes Verstappen, and Verstappen kind of went wide there, and then Hamilton got a run on him. So Verstappen is running P2 by the time we get to P3 by the time we get to turn 3. And at this point, you see Charles Leclerc with Ferrari go off track into the sand trap, and his race is done. Lap 1. Just all the expectations that we had on Ferrari off of our predictions from Thursday, and you have Verstappen just out P1. This brought out Leclerc out lap 1, and then from here we have a virtual safety car, which turns into a full-on safety car, and for that incident, they get the race restarted, and then lap 7, you have Albon in the Williams. He's running in 6th place at this point. Just a great run, and it was just looking like we were gonna see Williams on the top 10 up points, and then he hits the wall, brings a bunch of gravel on the track. This ends up setting up for a red flag scenario. So when that wreck initially happened, they saw the safety car. Russell and Sainz, who were running 1 and 4 at the time, both decided to pit. This was their winning strategy, right? To try and get new tires on their car without losing track position. And then they throw a red flag because of the gravel. So now everybody gets to come in from where they're running. So this put Russell and Sainz back in deep in the field here. I think it put Russell in 7th and then Sainz back in like 14th. So now Hamilton has inherited the lead. Verstappen 2nd, and really put them behind the 8 ball. It looked like George Russell, he was so devastated when the red car came out, or the red flag came out, because now he knew he lost the lead back to 7th, and now everybody's going to be on brand new fresh tires. They get the race restarted. Hamilton gets a great restart, holds the lead out until lap 12 when Verstappen finally took the lead and never looked back for the rest of the race. Russell, mechanical issues, lap 18, just done. And for the next 30-something laps of this Grand Prix, you saw just great storylines. You had both of the Alpine cars running in points. You had Gasly as far up as 4th, running with the Ferraris and running with the Astons, and he was just putting on a phenomenal drive. He was able to stay close enough to Sainz to keep using DRS in every zone, was able to keep that 1 second gap, and it was just looking like it was going to be a phenomenal race for Alpine. And then you had Ocon. He had drove his way all the way up to like 8th, I believe, behind a Haas in 7th with Hulkenberg. It was just, the storylines were just awesome in this race. And then you had Perez driving through the field, just making incredible passes, and with just the power of the Ferrari and of the Red Bull on these straight lines is just unmatched by anybody. And so that's kind of your whole race there, was just to see the underdog, the Alpine and the Haas, and then watching Perez make his charge through the field. That was kind of the story of the race. And then you had Lando Norris. He was up there in about 9th at this point. It all changed. Everything changed. Lap 54, Kevin Magnussen ends up hitting the rear wall, or the wall, with his right rear tire, comes off, initiates a safety car, and then initiates another red flag. So this sets us up with one of these, I guess, NASCAR style green-white checkers. Standing start with 2 laps to go. And this is when absolute chaos had emerged, and this race was just thrilling. We'll let the footage play of this last lap here. It is just it's one for the ages. This will be played over and over for years to come. All right, let's play it.
Who wins this one? Immediately Verstappen is chopping ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who will try and edge out Fernando Alonso. It's as he were from the top 3. It's going to be close to contact, and Fernando Alonso is spun round by Carlos
Just
Sainz.
mayhem.
Off the road. It's Max Verstappen with the lead. Then it's Hamilton. And then crash at the back of the field. Into the wall goes Gasly.
All right, I'd like to back that up and pause it at a certain point here. And then you see Stroll go off. So back it up to, yeah, right there, or right there works. Okay, from right here, Sainz spins Fernando. Fernando's the car on the top left. He was running 3rd all day. Gets turned by Sainz in the Ferrari. You see De Vries, and you see goodness gracious, it was De Vries and Dalton Sargent in the Williams. They make contact into turn 1. Then you see both of the Alpine cars. They both make contact and they wreck right here as well. And then you see the next turn, Stroll goes off. So you have everybody's wanting to get on NASCAR about being this chaotic series and just drama at the end. But I mean, you have the most premier auto racing series in the world, and they just made NASCAR look like a bunch of professionals right there. I mean, they turned clown mode to max here. Like, I saw Krusty the Clown on the corner over there. I mean, it's just absolute mayhem. And with this ended the race because they had to throw another red flag, and they took them like 45 minutes to decide how to end this. They didn't know if they should do another restart because they never made it to the end of Sector 1 to make that an official running order. They didn't know if maybe they should just call it a race there and just award everybody from where they were running at the time of the red flag. They didn't know if they needed to do another safety lap around to whoever was still running, and whatever position they were in is where you're going to finish. They didn't know what to do. It's like the FIA was digging through a manual of rules on how to figure this thing out. They ultimately, I feel like they got it right. They penalized Sainz. They give him a 5-second penalty for the contact with Alonso. And then they gave Alonso his 3rd place back, which was awesome. And so now this put up a situation where the McLarens, they both were in points. I think you had Lando in 6th, then you had Piastri, the hometown driver, in 8th. So it was just a phenomenal story for McLaren to get points, but just devastating for Alpine. They ran such an amazing race, and it's so heartbreaking that Gasly did not get the top 4 finish that he deserved, and even Ocon was right there in 8th. It's just, just devastating how that race ended. It's awesome on one end for Norris and Piastri, but it's devastating for the Alpine cars on the other end. And yeah, I guess it's just mayhem. It's not just NASCAR. I want everybody to know it's not just NASCAR. All series do this. It's just a matter of putting them in a certain scenario. And that when you set guys up in a position where you have 2 laps to the finish and you have them all bunched up, this stuff will happen. It's just inevitable. And Formula One did what NASCAR did last week. So that's just part of it. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think this race was all about maximizing position on track because of where Perez was at. Everybody knew what they needed to do in order to keep him behind. You can stay in the points. We knew Perez was going to be taking chances to get up front. We saw a lot of good cars up front with my favorite driver, Gasly, arguably the best driver in F1 as we speak, up there turning some heads. His teammate Ocon also up there. Haas getting in the points with that heartbreak they had. Unfortunate, really is. Verstappen, I don't think there was any other way that this race was going to finish out with him not being P1. I just think that it was a good race. I was really hoping for Fernando Alonso to be there on the podium again, and yeah, it just heartbreak for Ferrari or Leclerc again. I don't know when that dude's luck is going to turn around. Maybe a jump to a different seat. I don't know. I feel like he's probably getting pretty fed up there and he's ready to get on. So Sainz was pretty mad at his engineer as well over some calls that they made. And yeah, we saw Mercedes back up there, getting some more speed, which is good for you Mercedes fans. And hopefully we can see that in the future with Mercedes possibly giving Red Bull a run for their money. We don't know yet. We're excited. I'm excited to see that. Competition is good. So overall, I think it was a pretty good race. We saw a lot of diversity. We saw a lot of well, not saying it's a good thing, but we saw a lot of mayhem. It really mixed up the race. It made for a good race.
Yeah, there was amazing overtakes throughout the race. And it was from lap 18 to lap 54. It was just a typical Formula One race. It was awesome. And then just you bunch them up and just mayhem happens. With that penalty for Sainz, he would have been 5th in the running order when they restacked it, and still would have finished 5th. But they gave him that 5-second penalty. So when they did that safety lap at the end of the race, all those other guys behind him were just right up on his gearbox and just packed in behind him, so that when they went across the line, they would all get ahead of that 5-second interval on Sainz. So this relegated Sainz back to 12th. It was just a devastating day for Ferrari. Sainz penalty going back to 12th. Leclerc's first lap wreck that DNF'd him. Huge day for Aston Martin. They got both cars. Alonso, 3rd straight podium. Stroll rebounded.
Oh, he did get podium?
Yeah, he did get podium. It was Verstappen, Hamilton, and Alonso were your podium finishers. And then Stroll finished 4th. So like I called it, I knew it would be a rebound for Stroll this week. They got the reliability issue fixed. And then Perez drove from the pit lane up to 5th to finish 5th. And he also got the fast lap of the race to mitigate some of that points loss that he would have with the fast lap of the race. And so now with the point standings after Australia, round 3, Verstappen is 69 points. Perez is 15 back and 54 points. Alonso, with his 3 straight podiums, this puts him at 45 points, only 24 back. Hamilton's 38, 31 back. And then you got Sainz and Stroll tied for 5th, 20 points, 49 back each of them. And then the constructors, this one's kind of a battle for 2nd at this point. We got Red Bull at 123. Then you got Aston at 65, 58 back. Mercedes is all at 58, which is 65 back. Ferrari's at 26, minus 97, which, I mean, Ferrari, just all the points that they lost out on in this race, that's just heartbreaking for them. And then McLaren, They got 12 points. They're 111 back. So McLaren's making some noise here at a potential top 5 finish in the constructors. So huge day for McLaren, disappointment for Ferrari, and just devastation for Alpine. That kind of sums it up. And just a phenomenal drive by Perez to get all the way back up to 5th in a track that's really hard to make up ground on. So phenomenal race. Congratulations, Max Verstappen. This is his 37th Grand Prix victory of his career. So phenomenal job by him. And then after staying up late watching this race, I woke up super early for the IndyCar race at Texas. So I didn't get much sleep this weekend. I was pretty much glued to the TV as I expected. Felix Rosenqvist with Arrow McLaren starts on pole, and Newgarden would end up taking the lead real early. He kind of dominated the beginning portions of this race. Lap 48, Takuma Sato was into the wall. Then you had contact with Kirkwood and Rossi on pit lane, which took Rossi completely out of this race. Kirkwood later would be DNF as well. And Newgarden just kind of led the first half of this race, kind of dominated it. Then at one point, you saw my dark horse from last week, Pato O'Ward, takes the lead from him. And Pato O'Ward put on a pace that was just unmatched by anybody but Newgarden. They put the entire field one lap down, and it looked like it was a 2-car race. And then with about, like I said, with about 60 to go, we have a crash for Rosenqvist, and this changed the whole race. This put 6 cars back on the lead lap. So you had Grosjean, you had Dixon, you had Malukas, you had Herta. I might be missing 1 or 2 in there, but it turned into one of these like Daytona-esque races, like a typical Texas IndyCar race. You had just amazing side-by-side thrilling action, and this continued until a crash on lap with about 40 to go by Stingray Robb. We have a clip from this wreck. Tom wanted to bring this up, so we'll let that play here.
We got a car on the wall, Stingray Robb. This helps.
It's frozen for some reason.
Stingray Robb's gonna have a big hit. One and two.
It's frozen.
Still frozen?
Yeah, it's frozen. Yeah, it's still frozen.
Well,
I guess since
anyways,
that's frozen,
I just
we'll let
wanted
you
to
talk
say how it looked just like Eric McClure's crash at Texas, where he had Talladega, sorry, where he had almost no control over the car and just slammed the inside of the wall, and it looked really, really, really heavy. It looked like a really bad crash, but Stingray got out and was walking around under his own power. But I just wanted to show that to not only show like the speeds these cars were going, but the safety that is also integrated with these cars as well. IndyCar built a fantastic car, and it probably saved this man's life this weekend.
Yeah, it was wild. He hit the wall and it just hooked left inside wall. Very scary situation. Got another restart, some more of that amazing battles that we saw between the field. We had another crash between Graham Rahal and your dark horse pick, DeFrancesco. This was just one of those scenarios where the car broke and he just kind of drifted back up the track, and Rahal had no idea he was coming back on the track. Rear-ended him, and it kind of sent him airborne. It looked like a space shuttle taking off from a runway. It was wild. They both thankfully walked away from that just fine. And then from there, we kind of just went green all the way to the end. We had an amazing battle. The best 2 cars were Newgarden and Pato O'Ward all day. I texted Tom, and I was really frustrated if anybody else besides them would have won, because those 2 guys deserved it. They were the best 2 all day. And if you don't see the best car win because of just shenanigans by whatever the race control decides by allowing all these other guys to get back on the lead lap, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but they got back on the lead lap, and it looked like that they were both going to find a way to lose this race, and it would have been really devastating. But thankfully, they battled, and with 2 to go, we had a crash with Grosjean, who lost control running 4th, slammed in the outside wall, ended the race under yellow. Newgarden was ahead at the time of yellow, and was able to take the win. Pato Ward was second, and Alex Palou, probably his best oval race of his career, is what he said. Finishes third. And then shout out to Malukas for finishing fourth in that Dale Coyne ride.
Yeah.
So that was phenomenal. This was
Yeah, that was a big
Newgarden-
finish for that team.
Right, very big finish. This was Newgarden's 26th career win in the NTT IndyCar Series. So, just a phenomenal run by him. This really sets him up to be a championship contender moving down the line. We'll take a look at the points for the IndyCar. After 2 races, it's kind of the time where you want to start looking at points. Pato Ward is now the points leader with back-to-back runner-up finishes with 82 points. Marcus Ericsson with the win last race and a top 10 finish here is 75 points, 7 back. Dixon 67 points, 15 back. Newgarden 66 points, 16 back, and Palou is 60, 22 back. So tight battle for the front of these IndyCar points. We'll see how it progresses as we get further and further into the season. This is only round 2. Now Sunday after the IndyCar race, it is the Cup Series Toyota Auto Owners 400 at Richmond. Qualifying was rained out on Friday, so the pole was given based upon a metric of previous finishes and point standings. So Bowman was on the pole. He led the first 10 laps. Byron took the lead, lap 11. Kind of checked out from that point. Lap 36, a competition caution. This is when the whole field was able to come in and pit. Hamlin got a speeding penalty running in from inside around the top 10. Gets put in the back and intentionally dumps JJ Yaley. Just absolutely hilarious. He's running in the back and he just dumps a back marker like Yaley. It destroyed Yaley's car. And what makes it really bad is it was on board with him at the time this happened. It's like Fox knew this was going to happen.
It was super lame, in my opinion. Super lame.
I even texted Tom after it happened. I'm like, just watch him go on his podcast now and say he intentionally did it and get another fine. So
yeah, we'll get another episode of Judge Duty.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. And then Byron wins stage 1. After that pit stop, Blaney gets a speeding penalty. So Blaney in this is just Blaney and Hamlin just self-inflicted all day. Blaney then, after his speeding penalty, gets off the next restart. He ends up spinning Barry out. So we got 2 guys that get speeding penalties that spin out 2 other competitors from running in the back shortly later. Just ridiculous antics by some guys that know better. And then Larson kind of took control of this race around lap 124. Then we begin a green flag cycle around lap 160. This is stage 2. Blaney gets an uncontrolled equipment penalty. They tried to make a wedge adjustment in the left rear, and they just could not pull the rod out of the rear of the car. It ended up launching the first guy. Once he pulls off, the first guy's holding on to it, flings him like a rag doll. The second guy reaches up to grab it, flings him like a rag doll. So you just had guys flying around in that pit box. Blaney takes off, gets the penalty, obviously, for removing equipment. And this brings me to the point I want to make about Blaney. Blaney's career is just taking a trajectory towards just devastation. His career was peaked about 2020, maybe a little bit in 2021, but ever since then, he's like following a career trajectory of like a Ryan Newman or a Greg Biffle or a Casey Kane. I mean, just comes out, has all this speed early on, and then just as his career gets on and on, it just starts just going downhill.
I think there's more to it, because I also feel like we have seen brilliance come out of Ryan Blaney's stall, and we've seen speed. We've seen what he can do behind that car, but yet we also have this 22 car who's has previous championship with Penske, who Penske can depend on to go out and win a championship. We saw Ryan Blaney really fast in Phoenix last year, but he gave the win to Joey Logano to secure the championship. Blaney was faster than Logano, 110%. I mean, there's no doubting about it. But then you also have Cindric coming in. His dad is obviously the competition director there. What do you think they're doing there? I think Blaney is at a point now. He has peaked with Penske, and now what he was left with is not sufficient enough to give him a car to go out and win on race weekends. I think one of two things here. I think that Blaney needs to leave Penske, go and talk to Brad Keselowski, replace Buescher or add a third car. Or he can go to SHR and replace Kevin Harvick when he retires. He's been, and I say those two teams because he's been with Ford this whole time. He's going to have those relationships within Ford. Ford would probably love to retain him. If I was Ford, I would want to retain Ryan Blaney. Well, that's the reason why I chose those two teams. And I don't really think that there's any other teams that may seem appealing to Ryan Blaney to go out and apply for. Ryan Blaney is in a really hard position right now. He's really got to think about the consequences of staying on the race team or leaving the race team. And he can't have regrets like what Greg Biffle did staying with Roush. He's got to be the Matt Kenseth. And if that means sitting out for a year and then coming back maybe with RFK or SHR, sometimes that looks better on your career than just driving a dumpster fire to the ground.
Yeah.
At this point,
it's crazy.
I just think that Penske cannot do anything for him. Penske is giving him what they want to give him and not what he needs.
I mean, like we talked about, I guess not on the stream, but we've talked about in the past, maybe making a crew chief change. I mean, I think that Blaney needs like a Paul Wolf type crew chief. Logano's got the experience. I think he can make it with any type of crew chief, but I mean, I think a Paul Wolf is somebody that Blaney needs right now. He needs somebody with that experience. It's not scared to make these risky calls and adjustments, and I think that's what he needs right now to stay at Penske.
But I'm pretty sure they already went through a crew chief change, and that's when they gave Paul Wolf to Cindric. Is that correct?
No,
I'm
pretty Logano.
Sure. Oh, to Logano. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm just coming from the fact of purely of trying to save Ryan Blaney's career.
Yeah.
At 2020, he did a fantastic job of staying up front. He could have won 7 races if things didn't go awry on him. 2020 and then 2021, dismal. 2022, dismal. 2023, I mean, we're looking at a dismal year again, while the 22 is up here leading races. Why is that?
I think it's all crew chief. I mean, I don't know. It kind of just gradually is getting worse for Blaney, and like, there's just no weeks. Even looking at the schedule coming up, there's just not a race on there that I look at for Blaney to be good. We just haven't seen the speed out of that 12 car in particular. Logano's up there in points, but I mean, that should be a host of things. It's baffling me on what's going on with Blaney. And I mean, you make great suggestions of staying in the Ford camp, but my thought goes, maybe just get out of the Ford camp. I mean, if you stay with Ford, we've seen what Ford's done with all their teams, and they're just going down and down and down. If you jump over to an SHR, what says you're not going to run worse? So I'm thinking maybe just talk to Gibbs, and maybe you can jump in the 19 car when Truex is gone. They're going to be looking for a driver, and I think maybe it's just time that he parts way with Ford. Kenseth did it. Edwards did it. I mean, maybe it's time to find a Toyota team to make your home. Because there's no openings in Chevy. Chevy's got their guys locked up with RCR, Hendrick, and Trackhouse. Those are your teams in Chevy, and none of those are going to have an opening anytime soon. So really, it's stay with Ford, like Tom said, or maybe jump course and go to the Toyota, or just ride the wave like Biffle did and just watch your career come to a tumbling close. Just tough situation there for Blaney. After this, we saw a great battle between Bell, Byron, and Hamlin for the Stage 2 win, which Hamlin ended up winning it. Correct me if you have a different opinion, but I think Hamlin had the best car all day. I think he had the most dominant car. He drove from the back to the front twice in this race. Nearly 3 times if the race would have been a little longer, but he just made just incredible moves. It looked like he had the most dominant car. Even like when Byron, Truex, and Larson were up front with the most dominant cars, Hamlin was still running faster lap times back in 10th, 12th. So, I don't know. Do you have a different opinion on who the fast car of this race
Yeah,
was?
it was just unfortunate he couldn't flex his muscle up front, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it was all self-inflicted, right? He has a speeding
Yeah.
penalty there in
Yeah.
stage 1. Then he makes contact with Yaley, which was just out of desperation, in my opinion, to
Yeah.
wreck someone that early in the race, and that's not contending with you. And then, so Hamlin wins stage 2. Green flag stops with 111 to go. Hamlin has a slow stop on pit road from the lead. Goes in pit road, and they had trouble on the right side. Loses a ton of time. Puts him way back. And then to amplify this, I believe he got a speeding penalty as well. So this just puts him in the back. You can't have this many mistakes in one race with the best car and still overcome everything that he saw. 106 to go. Truex assumes the lead. This looks like they're going to have to make one more pit stop till a caution comes out. 95 to go with Gragson. Then they all make another pit stop. So this puts Truex in a situation where he's only got one set of tires compared to everybody else who has 2 left. Truex made that early pit stop gamble after that competition caution lap 36 to pit, when a lot of the other guys did not pit. So this put him a set of tires back to everybody he's racing against. So Truex really just needed this race to go green from the end, with 90 something to go when they got the restart. And like we saw before, the green flag pit stop cycle starts. Byron pits with 50 to go, leaps Truex for the lead. And Truex kind of just pitted 3 laps later and was trying to catch Byron. Eventually did with about 33 to go. And you saw Barry and McDowell running a stretched strategy. They were staying out as probably to the end of the race, I would say, is what their thought was here. Because worst case scenario, they were running 15th to 20th anyway. I mean, they're still probably going to finish 15th to 20th, but just stretch it on that last set of tires. Caution, 28 to go. Reddick. What happened to Reddick? Goes from the king of the freaking mountaintop last weekend to just absolutely couldn't get out of his own way. Couldn't even make lap time. Just running mid-20s all day. Spins out. This is what put the nail in the coffin for Truex. Race is done. He's a set of tires behind, so he has to put on some old 6-lap scuffs. Was not able to make pace with everybody else. Barry and McDowell benefited from this. Barry and Larson win the race off pit road. So this puts the race in Larson's hands. And we get a restart here with like 20 something to go, and Bell and Byron make contact. We got a clip here to show you of this contact, and then we'll talk about our thoughts on it. So we'll let it roll.
Bell makes a block to the bottom, moves up.
Yeah, it's frozen. I don't know what's going on with it today.
That was just an adjustment. He tried to make a late block on Chastain, wasn't there, moved up.
Okay, back it up. It's rolling now.
Too good a run here. Waited on him a little bit.
All right, restart here with 21 to go. Going into turn 1, and Bell just comes up and tags Byron. I don't know. Now that I see it again, I was thinking it's more of racing, so now that I see it again for another time, I go back and forth every time I see it, but I'm thinking that was definitely Bell's issue there. I initially thought maybe Byron just came down, maybe he wasn't giving him enough space, which still, again, you could put a little bit of blame on Byron. I mean, if you're on the outside late on these restarts, there's just really no need to come down on everybody. Like, stay on the outside. That's the faster lane. You'll get the run down the back. He had a faster car. Maybe he was a little zealous there, but then again, Bell, I mean, I don't know. It looked like he was trying to give Chastain room, but he gave him too much room and used up more room up into Byron. So it's just bad race there for Byron at the end. Bell as well just got a little zealous and took out Byron. So now this is Larson's race to win. Holds him off from the final restart. Career win number 20 for Larson. First win of the season. This is crazy. He went from 27th in points last weekend, completely down and out, gonna have to figure out how to get some consistency and some speed, to this week, he's a winner, locked into the playoffs, no problems at all. Points not an issue. It's it's crazy how everything can change in 1 week for any driver. So, shout outs to McDowell and Barry for their P6 and P2 finishes in this race. That call by both their crew chiefs was just spot on. To take them from finishing 15th to getting them on the same strategy with the leaders there at the end to finish in the top 10 for both of them. Second for Barry and sixth for McDowell. And I really thought here at the end that Barry was going to win this race. The theme of the weekend was in NASCAR was first time winners, right? You had Austin Beers first win in the Whelen Modified Tour. You had Chandler Smith first career win in the Xfinity. Carson Hocevar first career win in the trucks. I said this on Saturday after the truck race. I'm like, dang, all these first career winners. I was like, we ought to take a first time winner in the Cup Series this weekend. I was like, it ain't gonna happen. There's just no way with the parity. And then we see Barry running P2 off that last pit stop. I'm like, man, can you imagine if Josh Berry, part-time driver, backup driver with a backup crew chief, ends up winning this race? That's what my brother said. It was kind of funny when he said that. And I was like, that's a good point. I mean, backup, trying to win the race, and they end up finishing back up to his teammate Larson. So phenomenal run by them anyway. This is going to answer a lot of questions that people have on Barry. And I think that given the right scenario, the right situation, I think he could be a race winner in the Cup Series and be a competitive Cup driver for years to come if he gets that opportunity. Any thoughts on the race or the outcome or anything do you want to talk about?
Yeah, it was a good race. The ending there was obviously really fun to watch. Pretty much all the endings this weekend was a good one to watch. We had some, theatrics going on during the Cup race, like Denny Hamlin and, Ryan Blaney's crew acting like Superman trying to pull the wrench out and, stuff like that. But really, it was the ending that made the race. But yeah, congratulations to Kyle Larson's. I think that mainly Josh Berry and McDowell. I think that's the main takeaways from this weekend. McDowell, where's he getting this speed? He races for front row. I mean, this has always been a team that has never run consistently top tens. We've seen McDowell run the best out of the camp, but lately it's like he's running top 10 all the time. He's in the top 10 almost every race. If he doesn't finish in the top 10, he's top 15. So I'm really excited for that program to come forward and see what they can produce for the rest of the year, first off, and then second off, what they can produce for road courses and restrictor plates. And I think that we could possibly see Michael McDowell in victory lane. I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
I'll be cheering like hell.
Yeah, me too. McDowell's awesome. He's a veteran, and I think that has to go with his finishes this year. I mean, it's just veteran experience. You don't let the moment get too big. You just maximize your equipment and put yourself in the best position at the end of the race to maximize your finish, and that's what he has continually done this season. And you talk about guys for SHR. I mean, this is a veteran. This is a guy that I think if you hire him SHR, this is a guy that could really turn your program around. He doesn't tear up equipment. I mean, you get him in a car that's a little better than he has now, I could see him in a top 10 threat on a weekly basis. So maybe that's someone that we should keep an eye on for a potential ride opening. And with that being said, we'll go straight into the point standings. Right now, Alex Bowman maintains the points lead, another top 10 finish, 263. Chastain's in second, only 4 points back. Bell is in third, Byron fourth, and Harvick fifth, and they're all separated by 1 point each. So it's getting ratcheted up into points as the season gets along. We're only 2 races away from the 1/4 mark of the season. So points are starting to become at a premium, and now that Hendrick's got their points back, they're kind of solidifying themselves as championship favorites with a few in between. Notables, Chris Buescher currently 6 points to the good on the cut line in 15th. Suarez is in 17th, 6 back. You got McDowell, who's sitting 8 back in 18th, and then LaJoie, who's 9 back in 19th. So this cut line is ramping up. They're all right there within 15 points from 15th to 18th, or 19th. So we're gonna have a great stretch of runs here over the next few weeks to see really who can maintain the pace that they've started the season on. And I think that we could get a couple of these surprise sleepers make the playoffs this year. So that'll be interesting to see as the season goes along. Um, and then another thing I wanted to bring up uh, is Hocevar in the Truck Series race. When he won the race, they didn't interview him on the front stretch. They actually interviewed him in pit in victory lane. And I thought this was just a phenomenal move by NASCAR, and this needs to come back. You don't realize how much you miss something until it's gone. Uh, the front stretch interviews post race are cool to a point, but there's just nothing that beats that interview in post race. I mean, the first time they get to talk to a camera is in victory lane with all their boys just shooting champagne all over them. All the emotions are high. Your team owners, your sponsors, everybody's there. The fans are surrounding you. It's just nothing beats that excitement of getting out of your car for the first time in victory lane with your boys, and celebrating. You could definitely tell the raw emotion there of Hosafar. He was pretty excited about it, and I was as a fan watching it. Watching it, it just gave me some of that old throwback nostalgia, especially after you saw it in the IndyCar race as well. And it's like that's how most forms of motorsports do it, is in victory lane. So hopefully they can learn something from that and move that on forward and do that more often, because that was very exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
This will bring us to our nominees for the driver of the week. This was tough. There was a lot of good decisions. Honorable mentions would be, I think, McDowell, P6. I think you have to do the Gasly with Alpine, even though he didn't get the result. I mean, just the drive he put on there for 54 laps is just amazing. And then Haley Deegan would be another nominee with that P6 finish in the trucks at Texas. But I think the three people that we've nominated this week will be Kaz Gralla finishing P4 in Xfinity. The reason that we nominated him is just the expectations for him were nothing. And he takes a Sam Hunt racing car. I didn't even know who Sam Hunt was until the Cup race when they did a little feature on him. I guess he's a younger owner and investing a lot into the sport. Toyota's investing a lot into him. And Kaz Gralla, just one of those underrated drivers, and finished P4 in the Xfinity race. And who knows if Chandler Smith and Nemechek would have been battling harder and made contact. I mean, Gralla could have snuck in here and stole this win. So that's my first nominee. Second will be kind of McLaren, Norris, Piastri in the F1, both scoring points. Piastri especially scoring points in his home Grand Prix. Just a phenomenal job by them. And like we said with Deegan, as when you don't have the equipment or don't have the speed to run up front, you just have to maximize your day, avoid carnage, and just be there when it counts. So good job for them. And then Josh Berry, P2 in the Cup Series, nearly getting his first career win. Excellent call by the team. I think this is more of a team nominee here, but we're putting driver of the week, obviously. So just congratulations to the whole 9 team rallying around him. He's got the best pit crew, the best engineers, the best backup crew chief. I mean, it's Chase Elliott's team. Overall, gets the best equipment by anybody in the sport. So him to be able to use that equipment and get a P2 finish, just congratulations to him. And then for our bonehead of the week, Sammy Smith, Xfinity Series, had the best car, put himself a lap down, didn't get the lead lap back until 7 to go in the race. Just a poor strategy. There's no reason to get off strategy when you've got the best car. Cost him the race, and just boneheaded move by that team. And then Armani Williams gets the bonehead of the week for not even using brakes. I don't know who to put the blame on here. It's easy to put it on the driver, but this could easily be the spotter. You see a wreck happening a quarter of the track ahead of you. Where's the brakes? Use your brakes, man. If you can't avoid incidents like this, you just don't even deserve to be on the starting grid. So just bonehead, missile, whatever you want to call it. He is a nominee for this week. And then finally, Hamlin taking the best car in the field and not even getting a top 10 finish with it. Double speeding penalties, running over a back marker. Pit crew didn't help him out either with the poor pit stop. This is what makes Denny Hamlin a guy that will never win a championship, does not have what it takes, never will, and just bonehead move of the week for him. Sorry for the earlier start time of this podcast. We'll have another stream starting here in about 15 minutes. We're going to be calling an iRace tonight. So if you guys want to stay tuned and watch that after this, that'd be awesome. But with that being said, Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel for more content coming out. My name is Jay.
And I'm Tom.
And thank you guys so much. This has been the Full Send Half Mast Podcast, episode 7. Today's date is Monday, April 3rd. And this has been episode 7. We're the Dega Boys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the channel. And we are signing off. Thank you.